Hello, and welcome to a YouTube guide on how to talk to a demon. I have seen this as a question in my comment section. I thought I may as well make another video and rehash all of the information that I have already given on various different other videos. First of all, having your starting point be YouTube or TikTok or social media of any kind is not the best starting point. I would honestly recommend books. I am gonna be talking about invocation only. The difference between invocation and evocation is that for invocation, you are inviting a spirit into your space, and in some cases, allowing its energy to mix with yours. You don't have any kind of protection, any kind of walls up between you and the spirit. And the reason why I'm gonna be talking about invocation, not evocation, is because with invocation, you'll have more of a chance of feeling the entity that you're contacting, and therefore more of a chance of realizing that you're successful at said contact. Furthermore, it is an easier, more friendly method, as you are unlikely to anger a spirit, inviting it with all goodwill on. And evocation takes a very long time to learn, and it will completely depend on your religion and the basis of your practice. Honestly, it's not always confrontational, but you do need to know what you're doing, because it normally involves balancing yourself with elements and having protection up. And a lot of people do the basic one of protection with 4 angels, which is not gonna work unless you are working with said angels and you're gonna be working in that system. Otherwise, you need to find a different system that works for you, and it is a much more complicated matter that requires you to have good ability to see ghosts, at least somewhat ability to perform rituals, having had done at least some energy work, knowing what system you're standing in when it comes to your own magical practice, and being confident in it, and practicing and learning and performing rituals in the very much correct way. It's not something that you're just gonna put on a YouTube video and just do, because if you're gonna proceed it that way, you're gonna take somebody else's system that does not necessarily agree with you as a person, without knowing that it doesn't actually agree with you as a person, and then approaching the spirit in a commanding manner or a protective manner with other energies in your field without being able to sense the spirit directly, because now you're protecting against its energy. And honestly, it's such a complicated matter that I don't actually know if my explanation makes sense. So that we're not focusing on that. I thought about how to put that into words. I am not too sure that I put it into words correctly. I know what I'm trying to say, but I also realized that it's a bloody complicated topic and that nobody else is gonna know what I'm trying to say unless it's something that they have worked with, for a while, and that they already have a practice of their own. And in that case, they're probably not looking at YouTube videos. So now that we know that we're focusing on invocation, the simpler method, where we're simply inviting a spirit in without having the complexity of the situation on needing to consider an object to place them in, or having to bother with circles, or having to bother with other entities watching over us, or having to figure out what religious denomination we even are. No, we're discarding all of that, and we're just going with very simple spiritual work, right? I want you to know what entity you want to contact. That would probably be step one. And don't start with, what is the easiest demon to reach? No. It honestly depends on what kind of person you are, how compatible you are with the entities that you're gonna be attempting to reach. And the easiest way to figure that out is just to open a book of demons, Google demon names, even look at wiki lists, and just going if anything stands out to you instinctually. Like, is there a name or a sign or anything where you're like, yep, I'm definitely really interested in that, and I don't really know why. If there isn't such a thing, then the best thing to do would be to go by purpose. What do you want to achieve with this? Do you want to get better at divination? Do you want to see your future? Do you want to gain knowledge in sciences or arts? By the way, it's not entirely direct. You will still need to practice those subjects, but you could have a spirit helping you with concentration and practicing these subjects and coming up with a lot more epiphanies in a lot shorter amount of time than you would normally do. So it's not exactly like you'll just know, but if you have a direction, then you will have a know-how of what's kind of spirit you're seeking. If you don't have that, go with your gut. Don't start questioning what is the easiest one to reach. There isn't one really. They will all depend on which one you vibe with the best. That's the easiest way to sum it up, really. So now, I'm gonna assume that you at least have a name. A name. We're looking for one. You can come up with more. You can make a list of things that you might want to try and contact, but we're just looking for a name. If we have a name, that is step one. Step two is getting good at meditating. And there is no actual shortcut here. You do need to be able to kind of enter this kind of state of not being fully present in your current environment, and that doesn't mean shutting off all your thoughts. Think when you were daydreaming as a child during lessons and you just kind of tuned the world out. And then maybe when somebody called you, you kind of snapped back in. That's the easiest way of noticing the difference between being fully here and not being fully here. You're looking for a state where you're not fully here, managing some sort of meditation, be it a walking meditation where you're just trying to focus on the sights and sounds around you as you're walking through without actually having thoughts run through your head and spin in circles about all the things that you gotta do or all the things that you want to be doing or all your fantasies. Be it a sitting meditation where you just focus on hearing a mantra, a chant. With demons, there's such things as Ns. You can Google an N on YouTube. You can listen to it. And you just let that go through your brain as you focus on being calm and breathe until you kind of snap out of reality, at least a little. You can try a drumming meditation where you just take a drum and you try to do a repetitive beat, normally a beat to your heartbeat, because that is the easiest one, until you focus on this action for so much that you kind of get a bit out of it. Prayer is another meditation. The 100 prayers with prayer beads that even some Christians do, that is a meditation in itself, because you are focusing on recitation and you're also focusing on going through a bead. And that is the only thing that is on your mind as you're going through all of the process. That's the only thing that you are focusing on. I'm sorry, my cat has gotten sick. I think she stopped being sick right now. That is good. Right. So that is the only thing that you're focusing on, just repeating the same thing over and over again. It's a repetitive action. You can try a dancing meditation. Trance music is a thing. Normally, it has a very, very prominent beat, and you let your body just move without focusing on what you're doing. Best with your eyes closed. Just let it move. Let it do what it wants to do without being self conscious, without observing yourself, and just sway to the beat. Just go with it until you really stop feeling yourself in the moment. When you find what works for you and you can achieve that out of it state, and you do have an entity that you want to contact, a demon in this case, you are gonna try and focus on them. For that, you need some sort of focus. This can be their sigil. Sigils tend to be little signs attributed to demons. This is like my personal one that I'm currently using for a thing. I won't actually flash an actual demon sigil at you because some people are kind of sensitive to that kind of thing. But you can Google. I trust in your ability to Google, and I trust in your ability to compare sources that come up so that you can actually arrive at one that is real and not somebody's art project. I trust your ability to discern things, and I hope that I'm not over trusting you, because trust me, I sometimes receive some very weird messages. It can be that. In that case, you wanna remember that sigil and keep it in your mind and kinda mentally reach for it or mentally call out with it. You wanna either be trying to throw yourself at it or be projecting a sound, anything, towards it. This can be, once again, be an N, which is a demon-specific thing. ENN. That is literally how it's spelled. In that case, you can be reciting that either out loud or in your mind. It can be just their name. In that case, just repeat the procedure with the sigil. And you just keep that up. And you keep that up for minutes. I would say 10, 15 is a good try. 30 if you need to. It's not gonna be an easy and fast thing. And you want to keep that up until you feel a change in the room. Whatever that change is gonna be personal, and it will entirely depend on the entity. I keep on saying entity, which is just a general word for all spiritual things. In this case, a demon. It can be like specific to them, or it can be a specific thing between you and them. Everybody reacts to the same thing differently. Like, some people would probably get bad vibes off me. I don't get bad vibes off me, obviously. It's gonna be that kind of compatibility thing. Are you suddenly dizzy? Are you suddenly cold? Are you suddenly hot? Is there weird electrical happenings in the area at this point? Are you not entirely sure that you're hearing sounds, but you might actually be hearing sounds like knocks, creaks? Does the air feel heavy? Does the air feel light? Does the air feel electrified? It's gonna be a feeling of something that was not there before, and that is gonna be the main thing. You're going for this overall sensitivity of a presence of any sort. Don't like keep expectations around, but if you have that presence, congratulations. Now it's the communication bit, which, if you're contacting the spirit for the first time, is going to be something that you will definitely need to figure out how you're going to do. I recommend tools. I recommend having at least some sort of tool, just so that you can, at the very least, do a yes and no. pendulums are very, very easy, and you don't actually need to have a pendulum that is specifically labeled a pendulum. This is not labeled a pendulum. This is just my necklace. Well, my necklace with a stone in it, but it's still a necklace. Best objects are the ones that are already attuned to you, so necklaces that you really like, something that you have worn. It has to hang well, as in it has to have a weight at the bottom, and it has to be symmetrical, because otherwise you're kind of influencing where it goes. So pendulum is one idea, in which case you would go back and forth for a yes, sideways for a no. For example, that is a system that you can introduce. If you want, you can get a candle, and my camera won't really catch this candle very well because it's very bright. And I'm still running some background removal filters of it, which is why it's trying to remove my hand. A lot less bright now, isn't it? And I'm just gonna relight the candle. You can use a candle, and you can just say that light jumps up, or light subdues, or light goes to a side, or light goes to a different side. It is important that you state what a yes and a no is. It doesn't really, it's less important on how you set it up. So if you want to be like, hey, if you want to say yes, make the candle flame go higher. If you want to say no, make the candle flame go lower. Or if you want to say yes, make the candle flame move to the right. If you want to say no, make the candle flame move to the left. That sort of thing. And you might want to specify left or right from my position. So, in case somebody's opposite, that would be a misunderstanding and a half. You can say, if you're good with touch, you can say for a yes, make me feel something on this hand. For a no, make me feel something on this hand. I know of at least one person that communicates like that. If you want, you can bring a more complex tool set, such as tarot cards, in which case your questions can be a bit more complex than yes or no. In fact, tarot is really bad for yes and no questions, but really good for whys and hows and explaining emotions and situations and so on and so on. It's more of a self-reflective tool than it is a straight yes and no tool. You can use it for yes and no, but it gets very awkward very fast, and your questions have to be really bloody positive. Otherwise, when you get a negative card, you're gonna be very, very, very confused. Is this a no to my negative question, or because the card is negative and the question is negative, is this a double negative? Like, it gets really confusing, okay? Like, is this a positive, because the card is positive, is it a yes? Or because my question is negative, is it actually a no? Because positive is good and my question being answered with a yes would not be good. Leave yes and no questions out of it, unless you really know how to ask them. I'm gonna assume that you don't have advanced tools. If you do, perfect tool, just go ahead and use it, in which case you'll have to figure out how your cards interact with the entity, because remember that thing where you're gonna feel different depending on who you are and who the entity is. Cards are kind of the same way. There are just some decks that really hate the entities that I work with, and some decks that are completely indifferent to it. I find that the regular Smith White deck is the most likely to be completely neutral no matter whom you're speaking to, so that is always a good choice if you're going for tarot decks. Let's say that you want something a bit more complex. This is your first time speaking with this entity, therefore you have not established a good communication system yet, and you do not have tarot cards, you can ask for the answers to come in dreams, though it does require for you to be able to remember your dreams. You can ask for the answers to come in signs in real life, but that does require you to have common sense on how to interpret signs in real life. You'll know when something is a sign, but people tend to get very paranoid and interpret everything as a sign. So, for example, once I asked my patron what to do because I was having a really bad ear infection, and I refreshed YouTube exactly right after asking it, and the first video just said get through. And that at that point it felt like a very, very obvious strong sign. But it's not like I'm trying to interpret every YouTube video as a communication at all the time. It's just the thing that I was doing at that point, and because I asked for a sign, I felt like I was specifically given it. It's gonna be a feeling. You're not gonna be sitting there going, is this a sign? Because if you're sitting there going, is this a sign? It probably is not. You can practice mental communication, but that's a tough one to do on first contact. Definitely not something that I've done with spirits on first contact. And it requires to be very, very good at meditation because it requires you to actually not have many thoughts running through your head so that you are able to go, oh, a thought came in. My thoughts don't normally come in at this point. It doesn't actually feel like my thought. I can interpret this as an answer, but as you can see, this is like a whole process. So you kind of need to be good at that whole process, because otherwise you're gonna either be interpreting your own thoughts as answers or just have really a lot of trouble with it. And normally when it's your first contact with any kind of spiritual entity, you're kind of just be prepared to have really a lot of trouble with it. This kind of communication, it comes later as you get used to them and they get used to you and you get used to meditating and doing that whole spiritual practice. It is a practice. It takes practice. Now, this is all assuming that you're not insane, because you see, this is really what complicates matters. Some people have mental instability that makes them hallucinate things or sounds. For some people, this starts at about precisely the same time as they try practicing the occult, which makes it doubly as confusing. So, stuff should not be happening outside you trying to conduct some kind of ritual. This is some kind of ritual, by the way. If stuff is happening at random points, that is not a very sane sign. 2, you should not be feeling paranoid. Strong paranoia? Sign of mental distress. 3, you should not have obsessive compulsive thoughts, especially obsessive compulsive thoughts that require you to do something, or else you believe that you or your loved ones will be harmed. This is, once again, a pretty bad mental sign. You should not be seeing things with your eyes and hearing things with your ears. I'm not saying that this doesn't happen, but for people for whom this does happen, this happens rarely, not all the time, and is normally linked to doing a ritual. And these are the kind of people that kind of see spiritual all the time regardless. And now the cat wants out. Give me a second. So best expectation is not to expect to see or hear things, especially without extra aids, such as a lot of smoke in your room. that would do it. That might actually also cause hallucinations because you might be oxygen depriving yourself, or being in a very, very dark space because your eyes try to see things when you're in a very, very dark space, or using something as a black mirror. That's when you would expect to see things with your physical eyes instead of seeing things in your mind as you have your eyes closed and you're in a meditative state. That works sort of a bit like dreaming, except it's a tiny bit more controlled, but not quite lucid dreaming because you're kind of still aware that you're in a space and not directly there, but at the same time, you can see pictures in your mind's eye, but don't expect to be seeing physical pictures with your real eyes. And when physical pictures with your real eyes start happening, and all the time, that's kind of a bad mental health sign, and that should definitely be investigated by a mental health professional. The line between occult and insanity is a rather thin one, and if you do have mental health problems, you really want to know yourself and you want to be in a very, very stable place before you attempt to practice absolutely anything. We have just talked our way through how to do a basic invocation. What if you can't feel anything? Just in case, you can still ask the spirit of, hey, if you heard me, could you give me a sign in the waking world or a dream? And you will thank the spirit politely, no matter they're there or not, and say that now you're ending your session with them, and you will ask them politely to leave, going, okay, I'm hanging up now. Thank you for coming. Goodbye. And then you would go on and proceed doing your regular everyday things as you normally would. If you could feel a presence, great, because at the very least you could identify that something of note has happened and that you were in contact with someone, in which case you repeat the same thing. Now, sometimes you will get in contact not with something that you want to get in contact with. Demons are known for giving some very confusing and sometimes nightmarish dreams, so don't get surprised if you get something very, very shocking. Some of them have a very weird sense of humor. Depends on the entity that you're contacting. Some can be very, very straightforward, but it is not unheard of for Beelzebub to give a dream of eating shit, because it's a bastardization of Hadad, Baal-Zebub, Lord of Flies, bastardization of Baal or Baal, Lord, which at that point was mostly attributed to Lord Hadad, or a fertility and weather god of the area at the time. This is what you're gonna learn about a lot of demons. They used to be gods, and then a different religion really shat on them. So, as a sense of humor, if you're trying to reach the Lord of Flies, or the Lord of Shit, as he was insultingly called by an opposite religion, you can have dreams about eating shit. That's highly unpleasant, and highly shocking, but not at all surprising. What you should not be getting is threats. Do something or else. That's definitely not a thing that you should be getting. Definite promises. Weird asks that involve you doing something to other people, like, if you swear the soul of my firstborn to me, of your firstborn, in that case, X will happen. Or, if you just swear yourself to me, I will be able to make you fly. Nobody can do that. Keep your expectations really realistic. chances are some ghost is fucking with you. And some people really, really get attached to ghosts fucking with them to a point where people go, oh, I contacted the spirit 3 times over and I kept on asking for an impossible thing and they said that they can actually do this. So I kept on lighting a candle for them and praying to them and giving them my food, but the things never came and never happened. And it's like, yes, that was just some random spirit fucking with you. So no, if something is trying to threaten you, or if something is trying to promise you things that are very bizarre and out of the normal, and is asking you to give something that is not yours to give, aka another person, that wouldn't be valid anywhere. Trust me on that. Or asking for your devotion in order to get in exchange an impossible thing, that is not how you would expect any kind of known named demon to act. So kind of just still politely close the line, ask them to leave, don't call that number again. That is the best way to handle that situation. If you need extra protection, you can cleanse your space, get rid of any extra remaining energy in your space. This can be done in multiple ways. Some people do smoke cleansing, where they fill the place with smoke. Please be careful not to get monoxide poisoning. This includes sage burning, which people do. It's the same thing as smoke cleansing. You can just take a broom and imagine just brushing all the spiritual energy that's not yours out, including any weird hanging ghosties, and just get it over your doorstep and slam the door shut. And that will work too. You can do wet cleaning and imagine yourself collecting all of that spiritual energy into your wet rag and then washing it down as you wash the rag out. There are various ways of cleansing. As long as you can feel certain that the space is yours and assert it, don't be scared. A spirit can't really walk all over you. But at the same time, if you are dealing with something bigger, like a god or a demon, unless you want to go the confrontational route, which is definitely a no-no if you're a starting practitioner, and at this point you would be a starting practitioner. Unless you want to go that route, be respectful and polite. Just act with common human decency. It doesn't actually take anything extra from you to do so, and you would think that that would be self-explanatory, but for some people it really, really isn't, and that really does not compute in my brain. You don't need to be groveling, right? You don't need to be kissing anyone's feet. But please, and thank you, and hello, and saying sir or madam, even. Speak in a respectful tone, in a respectful manner, and treat it as if you would treat a business partner or an elder of your tribe. Don't treat it like you're a Karen and you really want to speak with your manager right now. That's not a good idea. This is me covering this topic as much as I can in a 34-minute window. There are plenty of books on demonolatry. I like Lucifer and the Hidden Demons by Theodore Rose. Did I? Yep, that's the correct name. That is the one that I like. That is the system that I like using. There's Demons of Magic by Gordon Winterfield, if I'm remembering the name correctly right now. that one is a more evocation approach. It works a lot better if you have a good relationship with angels. I never did. So for me, it's really not my thing and it doesn't work well for me, but it does work for some people. There's as Connolly's works. Be careful and take her claims with a grain of salt. A lot of people tend to claim that they're more than what they actually are in order to get some sort of public recognition, and some of the claims are a bit iffy, like, generational demonolatry, and I pulled this super secret thing out of my super secret family stash that my family is suddenly really okay with me posting, but trust me, it's a very old information and it's super secret. It works. These methods do work, but be careful on any kind of super secret lolzy claims, because that is what a lot of people do claim in the field, and they mostly claim this in order to give themselves a wind of authority that they would otherwise not have. It is a very, very, very common practice. You're gonna see it in a lot of books. They're not gods. That system is probably a lot younger than they're trying to tell you that it is. But that is okay, because it probably still works. I wrote 2 books, and it's down in the description below. I do like money, I must confess, but I do also give it away for free. So if you want a more in-depth guide on a magical practice or magical practice that you can adapt, look for the book that's not on selling your soul. If for some reason you're interested in the other one, it's in the description down below too. Both of them have links to Google Drive, where currently it's hosted. If my heart does get the better of me and I do die, I can't guarantee that it will be hosted there for forever. So hey, if you're watching this video in 20 years, that link might be dead. But for the current time, as I am recording it, it's still there. And it is working, so you can read those books for free. If you want to give me money or have a physical copy of them, there's Amazon links down below too. I hope that this satisfies your curiosity. I hope that this gives you something to work with. I hope that things are at least a little bit clearer. It is definitely a topic that is very hard to cover in a 40-minute window. And imagine how much worse the information gets, the shorter the video becomes. That's why I say don't go to social media, go to books. Dedicate a lot of time to this. Learn. It's spirituality. It is a practice. It's not yelling abracadabra and having a man with horns appear in your room to have a chat with you. Okay? Okay. I hope that we all have learned something today. If you want me to try and explain any other concepts, leave the questions in the comment section down below. If I can do it fast and in a direct manner, then I will just respond to you in a comment. If I can't, I might just make a video on it. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'm gonna see you the next time. Toodaloo.